Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Club Junkie podcast. Hopefully, having a great week. It's again, another Thursday. I know I always start with the same intro and all that. I know they say you should be consistent with your messages and your branding and all that, but I just get bored saying it's the same Thursday. But it's Thursday. I'm actually recording this on Wednesday night, but whatever. It comes out Thursday, and hopefully everybody's having a good week, man. It's unfortunately about to get cold here up in Detroit. So I gotta get some range time, some golf in because it is ending soon, or not. Well, it's ending. It's gonna be like 40 degrees this weekend and into the week, into the next week. So not a whole lot of time left to play a lot of golf. So got to work on that. Got to get some more swings in. But I have been hitting some balls. I have been getting out there to the range a lot, and I know I got a bunch of stuff here too to still hit, which is crazy. But today I got some good stuff, some stuff that I think that I've been waiting for to get to talk about with you guys. But before we get into it today, I just want to let you know this episode brought to you by Titleist and the new TSR Woods. And listen, the hours have been put in, the work has been done. As the moment approaches, you either fear it or you feel it. For Titleist, it's a moment filled with pure anticipation, the culmination of relentless pursuit of speed in every form. So set up and settle in with confidence. Titleist TSR is here. The new TSR drivers take everything that made TSI the number one driver on tour and pack even more performance into every head. From new face technologies to CG improvements and aerodynamic refinements, when everything moves the needle, you're playing at Titleist speed. So go to Titleist.com to learn more about the TSR metals and to schedule your fitting today. Titleist TSR. Find your faster. So, yep, TSR. I was actually hitting that recently with a couple different shafts and stuff out on the range the other day, and having trying to get out there. It's been beautiful. Last weekend, I unfortunately didn't get out and to play much. I'd have so many yard work and projects and stuff around my house. It's just crazy, and it's all stuff that I don't do over the summer because the summer I'm playing golf and hanging out at cottages. So it's my own fault. The stuff gets kind of pushed to the fall, and then I get stuck doing it. But it's all right. So I did a little work on the house over the weekend. But I did get out and hit some balls as well, which was great. And like I said, I've got a handful of stuff to talk about today. I've got a bunch of new stuff, ready to go. And it's just, yeah, it's overwhelming in a good way. I'm super excited, but I'm also like, oh my God, why am I going to hit all this stuff? So, it's just a good amount of gear. So, but it's been good. I've been hitting the ball decent. I wouldn't say amazing. I've been consistent with my misses, which is interesting. The more I go out and hit, the more I'm just slightly striking it off the toe, everywhere. I'm hitting a fairly straight ball. I'm taking a little bit of my left miss out of it so much. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing differently, but haven't been hitting it as hard left. But I've been hitting it a little bit off the toe, every single club. It was interesting. It was almost like if you took, every club that I hit and looked at it, I mean, they were all just slightly toe hits, everything was. But it was all consistent. It was all there and just really interesting. So I've been hitting a lot off the toe and I miss, but consistent with it. So it's been some apples to apples type stuff. Flushed a few and all that. And, but other than that, I've just been, working, man, hanging out on the site, getting ready for kind of 2023 in a sense. I mean, we're going to get through holiday, and then I think there's going to be a lot of the big OEM announcements, and again, I don't know anything really. I mean, I've known very little about what's coming in terms of next, other than, the photos that you guys have seen, we've seen, that are kind of spy shots from either tour or leaked somewhere. But I think a lot of these OEMs, a lot of the big stuff is going to be shown kind of next year. And I don't think it's going to be necessarily PGA show. I think it's going to be a little before that. And, we're going to have to wait. Usually a lot of times, the new stuff kind of hits right around the end of the year in December. I have a feeling stuff's going to be pushed back a little bit farther this year, which is tough because, I mean, I am not a patient person. So I want to go see this stuff now and I don't want to wait. But I am, and speaking of PGA show, I am going back this year. I haven't been since 2019, I think was the last time I went. Then COVID hit, so it was canceled in 2020. And then in 2021, we really only had two guys down there. It was basically our tour photographer, Greg, and another guy. And that was it. It was the only thing, people down there. This year, I will be attending. My flight is booked. I haven't booked a place to stay yet, but I have booked my flight. So I will be heading down there. I'm pretty excited. I get to hang out with my boy Gianni, who's one of our writers, full time guys, and just one of the nicest dudes ever. He's actually flying all the way in from Ireland to hang out and go to the show, which is pretty cool. So I get to hang out with him and him and I and maybe one other guy. We're kind of debating on how many people are going down. We might have one other person go and go down and see what's down there, see what the show's like, see what it looks like, and I've been there in 2 years and see what's new, what's not, who's there, who's not. It'll be pretty interesting. I've got a little excitement to go, only because, like I said, it has been a couple of years since I've been there. I know by the end, like 2019, I was kind of getting to the point where it was like, okay, like I'm going to go, and it's fine, but, it gets a little old. I mean, the PGA show for media, there's not a whole lot there that we haven't seen. I mean, we go down there and a lot of the gear, equipment, and stuff that a lot of you guys care about, we've already seen it. I mean, we've already done articles on it, or it's already out, or it's, we've seen it and it's going to be coming out shortly. So those type of things. And this year, and so it kind of got old. I mean, like I said, with media, it's just a different thing to do. I mean, it's more going, saying hi, seeing people hanging out, which I absolutely love. There's a bunch of people that I haven't seen in years, so it'll be fun to go see everybody and hang out and see what people are up to. But it was the actual stuff that's there. Very little of it's new, and it's more focused around buyers for golf shops, pro shops, green grass, country clubs, stuff like that. It's not really set up for media and things like that. I mean, people will gladly talk to you and all that, and interact with you, but it's not really like, oh, hey, here's something new. There's very little that's like truly launched at the PGA show. So the days of that stuff is kind of gone, but it'll still be fun. Like I said, I haven't been down there. We're talking end of January, so it'll be nice and cold here in Detroit, and I'll head down and get to hang out for a week down there. And I'm pretty much gonna be there Tuesday through Thursday. Tuesday, if you're not familiar with the PGA show, Tuesday is like the outdoor demo day at this. I think it's like Orange County National Range, or Orange County, National Golf something. It's huge circular range. Everything's outdoors. You can hit stuff if you want, all that. I rarely do. It's just usually too crowded to go hit products and stuff. So there's that on Tuesday, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is all in the big convention center. So we'll go and hang out Wednesday, Thursday, and then I got the earliest flight I could find out Friday. So after Thursday night, I will be up crazy early. I think my flight's at like 6 a.m. and I'm flying home on Friday to get home and see the family. So, but it'll be interesting. Like I said, it'll be interesting going. If you're going, hey, it'd be, hopefully I see you there. And if you do, hopefully you enjoy your time, and hopefully it's a pretty cool show. So I haven't heard a lot on, I don't know if they've even busted out the list of like who's going, who's not, or who's attending, who's not, who's presenting, all that. I don't know if that's like fully out there yet. I know I've got a few emails about registration and some other stuff. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But a little excited to go back, and like I said, excited to hang out with my boy Gianni. It'll be fun. We'll have a good time, and just enjoy Orlando, Florida, the wonderful city that it is. But that's it there. So I guess let's just get into some stuff. Let's get into some gear, because that's, I mean, pretty much why you probably follow along, and I appreciate all that you do. Thank you for everyone for following along. Please, if you have questions, comments, ideas, and stuff I should try to get my hands on, hit me up on Instagram at Club Junkie Pod. It's the best way to get a hold of me. I mean, I'm not like diligently in the DMs there, but I'm usually okay. I think I didn't even do my Q&A yesterday, which I should. Well, I'm recording this at like 3 o'clock, so maybe I'll do a short one in the evening or something like that. But I didn't even do my Q&A that I usually do, so maybe I'll do it tomorrow. Who knows? We'll see. But anyway, and the Q&A is basically I throw it in my stories. You guys can ask questions. If you have questions about shafts or clubs or whatever, ask away, and I try to answer them the best I can. If you hit me up with Acra questions, Acra shaft questions, I probably don't know, because I haven't had anything new Acra in forever. They make good stuff. I just haven't hit anything. So, but we will start off talking about shafts, because that's the first thing we'll jump into, and a company that I've hit a little bit more of and kind of built a little more of a relationship with in terms of talking to the guys over there is VA Composites. And if you're not familiar with VA Composites, Victor over there, who started VA, is an absolute legend in the shaft design world. He's been in the golf world for I don't even know how many years designing shafts, but it's a long time. And he is one of those guys that forgets more in, a day about shafts than I will ever know, which is pretty amazing. But VA Composites makes a handful of different shafts. A lot of their stuff is super smooth, really good feeling. They don't get crazy into the super low launch, low spin, super stiff type shafts. They do have a couple low launch, low spin models, but a lot of their stuff is kind of mid to mid high launching, and even into high launching, and stuff that feels really good. It loads really easily. And they don't have anything, like I said, that's like crazy stout, crazy stiff, anything like that. But they make a really good product, really high, a really nice product. I've tested I think like 3 shafts from them. I think I did the Raijin, the original Raijin, the Nemesis, and the Drago, which I think the Drago's behind me if you're watching this on YouTube. And I've hit those 3, all really, really good, really nice shafts. And Victor reached out, and they have a new Raijin 2.0. So they've got a brand new shaft out, and I guess from talking with Victor, the Raijin was the first shaft that VA Composites did, I guess, years and years and years ago, or at least the first Raijin came out 6 years ago. So they've got a 2.0, which is the brand new one, and it's got brand new graphics, a little totally different construction, but it still kind of holds some of the same DNA that the original Raijin had. So driver shaft wise, he was nice enough to send me a driver and a hybrid shaft, which is pretty cool. I thought I was just getting a driver shaft, but I ended up getting both. Graphics wise, white, just kind of like the previous generation, or I don't necessarily know if it's going away, because the original is still on the website. It looks like it's still available. You can still get it if it's a shaft that you really like or got fit into. Still available and still on the site. The new one, the 2.0, which I just realized that I showed it off here, and I think I put it upside down. But anyway, I'm like showing it on YouTube, and it's like upside down. But anyway, it's a brand new kind of updated model, and the big difference between this one and the original is the original was kind of sheets of carbon kind of rolled together to create a shaft. So they put a big metal mandrel in there, and they roll the shaft on top of all these graphite layers or composite layers, and they build a shaft. And this one is actually, from the video on their site, filament wound, which is interesting because I know years and years and years ago, when filament wound was kind of the only way, and then the layered versions came out, it was kind of, filament wound was kind of looked down on. But this one here, like I said, filament wound. So, and I believe it's, well, actually I'm not going to get into construction because I don't know 100% what that big difference is. But anyway, a good looking shaft, totally different graphics. The older one was kind of a shiny, shiny white down in the tip section up to the handle. And then the handle had kind of a glossy black, and it was kind of like a dragon looking, graphic on it. And this one is all matte, so it's kind of matte white. It's kind of cool that it's a matte white that's got a little bit of pearl in it, so it's got a little shine to it when out in the sunlight. Down here in my basement studio, you don't get any of that. I mean, unless you're looking at it super close, you can see a little bit. And then it's got a little bit of a kind of a claw type thing design with the VA logo up under the handle, and some red circles there. I do have to say, the one thing I like the graphics. I like the matte finish. I think it looks really good, and VA's graphics on all their shafts have been absolutely phenomenal. I think Victor over there does an awesome job with shaft graphics and design and what they look like. I think they always kill it. The one thing I do have to say, though, is I'm a little bit kind of OCD when it comes to kind of putting logos in shafts. And I think I say a lot of times I don't really care how busy the shaft is. It doesn't bother me that much. The only thing that sometimes does is like this one here, some of the red kind of circles, they have a little space to them. And to me, I kind of I want to line that space up with, to be logo, or kind of make it logo down, red circles be up. And it did kind of take me where I wanted to like adjust it to make sure those things were perfectly square. And they pretty much are. I got it locked in. The only thing is with all fit, the shafts go in, and the rotation is maybe just, a degree, or not even a degree, but like just a hair different between different heads, just because the way the markings are on all the heads and all the little notches. So in certain heads, it can look like a hair closed or a hair open or something like that. And it's one of those things that I know is stupid, and it's probably just me. but I do notice it. But like I said, overall, I like the look of the shaft. I've always kind of been keen of white, predominantly white shafts, because it kind of makes the driver look shorter to me. I don't know if that's just me or what, but the driver always looks a little bit shorter. I feel like I have a little more control with it. I've always just, for the most part, I've hit majority of white painted shafts. I've hit them well, which is kind of a weird statistic or whatever you want to call it, but it works for me. But yeah, the Raijin here, I had the 65X. Now with the VA, some of their stuff too is, when it says a 65 on here, 65 is kind of a lower number. Their shafts tend to come in a little higher in terms of weight. So this is a 65X, which comes in at 72 grams. But once you cut it down, if you do any tipping, you butt cut it, it probably plays right at probably 65 grams. I should have measured it before and after, but I didn't even think about that. But they do come in at a little heavier weight. And honestly, you do, to me, I do notice a little bit of that weight, hitting this and some of the other shafts I brought along with me, like Ventus TR Red and, some of the others. I did notice that there's a little bit of weight to this one. It was a little bit heavier than the other kind of 60, 65 gram shafts that I brought along. So if you're somebody who is always struggling and looking for heavier shafts and all that, VA definitely, a lot of their shafts, especially the Raijin series, the OG and the 2.0, both come in just a little bit heavier than what is written on the shaft in terms of, if you've got the 65, because they make a 55, a 65, and a 75 in this. And then they also make the 85 hybrid, which I'll talk about in a little bit as well. But at 65 grams, like I said, plays like it lists it at 7. And I apologize. There's a 45, a 55, a 65, and a 75. So super lightweight. But for example, if you go to the 55, the stiff is 64 grams. And this one here, the 65, is 72 grams in X. If you play a stiff flex, this will come in right at 69 grams, and the regular flex at 67. So like I said, just a little bit higher weight. And like I said, once you butt cut it and all that, it's probably pretty close to 65 grams or a little closer. But like I said, feels just a touch heavier. Swing weight wise, though, it feels pretty normal. It feels really close. I didn't actually throw it on the scale to see exactly. I just basically make all my driver shafts 45 inches. And unless something's crazy counterbalanced, I don't really check it on the swing weight scale. But the swing weight didn't necessarily feel really anything different than a lot of the shafts I was hitting, which none of them are highly counterbalanced or anything like that. They're none of these like the Nemesis, which is a counterbalance shaft from VA, but it is definitely a good looking shaft. And the first thing you notice about it, which again I've said it about kind of every VA shaft out there, first swing really, really smooth. It just doesn't have any harshness to it. You don't get any harsh vibration as you take it away, as you start to load it as it comes down. It's just got a really smooth, soft feeling. Now, this thing is stout. I feel like this thing plays a little more stout than the original. The 2.0 to me feels just a hair stiffer, but it's still easy to load. As you come down from the swing, you can easily feel the thing kind of bend, start to load, and it's got a really good kick and impact. They list it as kind of a high launch shaft. I thought it launched just a little bit lower. I'm going to call it kind of more mid-high. I say it was a shaft that I was kind of hitting next to it. I think it was kind of playing much like a Ventus TR Red, in terms of kind of that mid-high launching shaft. I think this is kind of in that ballpark for me. It wasn't... I was expecting it to be higher, let's put it that way. When you go on the website and you look at the 65 and it's, a mid-high launch and all that, and then some of the lighter weights are higher launch. To me, this thing wasn't as high as I expected. Like I said, I would call it a mid-high launch. My launch angle on this thing, because I did have my full swing launch monitor, and in my TSR2 head, which is a 10.5 head, this thing was launching at 12.4 degrees. So, not crazy high, but it definitely helped get the ball up in the air. But like I said, good kick and impact. It really did feel like it had some energy that it was releasing as you got to the bottom of the swing. But I never felt like I was really fighting the left with it. A lot of shafts that are a little higher launching, at least me, I tend to hit things a little more left. This, not so much. It really, I was hitting a lot of shots, either dead straight or even just slightly right of target. I had a few that I can get going left, but that's, my swing, and it doesn't matter what shaft is in the club. I'm going to be able to hit some balls left. But pretty straight ball flight, not a lot of a curvature in the ball. Whether you hit it a little right at target, a little left, dead straight, there just wasn't a ton of draw or a ton of fade on really any shot. It was really quite a straight ball flight, which again, for a shaft that I think in our minds we kind of get this, oh, it's higher launching, whatever. It definitely didn't have that that kind of high left weak ball flight. I mean, it was pretty penetrating and basically launched, like I said, right around, I'm sorry, I was looking, 12.4. So 12.4 was launch. Spin in my TSR2 dead was 28.8, which was my average over about probably 15 balls or so. I had a lot of fun hitting it, so I was kind of hitting shots. I was hitting quite a few shots. Spin was like 28.8 on here. And then, and again, that's kind of similar to what I hit with a lot of clubs. Like, I don't necessarily hit down on the ball, but I'm pretty neutral going into it. And I don't mind a little bit of spin. And also I was hitting range balls on here. And if you look at some of the, range ball numbers with other clubs that I hit that day, I think spin was an interesting one. But like I said, 28.8 was my kind of average over like 15 balls. And then my ball speed was 153.6. And smash factor was 149, so I was swinging at 103.3 that day. Like I said, about 15 balls. That's on average there. I did think I saw a 106 pop up with this bad boy, but it is an easy club to swing. Like I said, the swing weight feels pretty normal. Didn't feel excessively light or heavy, but ball speed wise, 153.6. I was hitting it pretty solid. Like I said, 149 smash. I have been, really liking that TSR2 head, and I've been hitting it, pretty darn well. And this thing really does show that, in terms of ball speed, it was definitely up there. Smash factor was really high. And like I said, launch at 12.4. It was, but yeah, I mean, through the swing, super smooth, really in terms of responsive, definitely responsive. And when you hit in the center, you could definitely, with those Titleist heads, you could definitely feel the ball kind of hit, compress off the face, and kind of go. And then when you did miss it, you got a little bit of feedback. You did get a little bit of vibration through the hands when you did hit it off the toe or the heel. Not as much so as maybe some other shafts in my arsenal, but with the smooth feel and the less vibration on solid strikes, it does take away a little bit off those toe and heel strikes, which for me on a bad day may be a good thing. I mean, I may be hitting a lot of balls, low on the face or low heel, and it could maybe kind of help out with it being not so brutal, especially in this as we get colder climate there. But Apex was pretty flat for having a fairly high launch. Apex was really flat, and it did really go well. I mean, I think in terms of I brought a handful of drivers with me, and this was definitely one of the most consistent out of kind of all the shaft changes and driver changes and all that. I would say this in my TSR2 head, and I really hit that PXG03 or the new 211. Those two I really hit really straight, and they were kind of noticeably tighter than some of the other combos that I was knocking around. But overall, this 2-pointed driver shaft is really solid. If you're looking for a little more launch, you don't want to have to add a ton of spin, but you want to keep some really good feel. It packs kind of all those things into this package, and no matter what the construction is and how they change that up, it definitely felt tighter than the original Raijin for me. I had the original Raijin pretty good. The handle section on it's a little softer than some of the shafts I prefer, but I hit it pretty decent. This one, like I said, feels just overall just a little bit stouter, and I felt like it was a little bit tighter than the original Raijin to me. But the 2.0 is really solid, and like I said, if you're looking for something that is just maybe a little higher launch, that mid-high launch, this thing's going to be really good. If you're somebody who's looking for like a pretty heavy fairway wood, I mean, the 75X in this thing is 82 grams. So if you're looking for something that kind of mid-high launch, you can hit a 3-wood off the deck real easily. You want something that's got a good feel to it. I mean, this thing it would be a great option to go in a fairway wood for a bigger hitter or somebody looking for a much heavier weight shaft to go in that fairway. But in driver, it worked really well. Like I said, there's not a lot of curvature to the ball. It just hit a lot of straight, shots that just missed target right or left, but went pretty much dead straight that way. The mishits stayed online really well. I mean, like I said, the shots that I came over the top and kind of smothered it, they usually have a ton of draw, were just kind of straight left. And they didn't have, I mean, they had a little draw to them, but they didn't have a ton of draw. And I even flared one or two to the right, and they just kind of went straight. And, I mean, they did go higher, but they weren't, balls that just got up into the air, died, and fell down. They still carried some distance. They still had a pretty flat apex. And, the ball speed and everything was really good throughout the whole kind of range session and all that. Let me see. I want to see because I hit one or two that were kind of high riders. And I was like, I just wanted to see was there one that had just a crazy amount of spin, but because it might have been that way. Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, so basically every single ball was basically 25 to 2,900, and then I had one shot that was a 34. So if you take away that 3,400 shot, which was a decent drive, just a little bit right, it was even a little bit lower with spinning than that. So take away that 3,400, that high rider, and this thing, I mean, it's right in my wheelhouse in terms of my spin. I look for stuff that's kind of in the mid twos, the 25 to 2,600, maybe even 27, and this is kind of right there. So like I said, if you're looking for something kind of mid-high launch, really good feel, really smooth, easy to load, good kick and impact. There's a lot of great things about this shaft, and a lot of people haven't tried a lot of VA composite stuff. And if you get the opportunity, definitely it's worth looking into. But the Raijin 2.0 for drivers is really darn solid. I was very impressed with it, and excited to kind of keep it into the arsenal. I think it's something that I'll definitely hit in some more heads. Like I said, I had the TSR2 head, which is a head that I've just been hitting well, but I'll probably pop this thing into a few more heads as well, just to see kind of how it performs. And one, I really liked hitting it. So it's definitely a shaft that I was impressed with. Like I said, I've been impressed with all VA composite stuff. I mean, I think the only shaft that just doesn't fit me really well, I've hit the Sleigh a few times in a couple different drivers that either friends or whatever have, and that's the only one that I haven't hit great. It's still a good shaft. My brother plays it. He hits it really well. I think just for my swing it doesn't fit, but everything that I've hit so far from VA has been really, really good. So, like I said, if you're looking for a shaft with quite a few good characteristics, the Raijin is definitely worth looking into. And then with it, that was the driver, and then I also Victor was kind enough to send me the hybrid version. So the hybrid version graphics are pretty similar. They're slightly different in terms of up near the handle, a little less black there. It doesn't have like the claws with the VA logo on it. It kind of takes away a little bit of that. The only thing that's interesting is once it was built up, which tipped at a 1/2 inch, I put it in a what was it, Tour Edge C722 hybrid. That I hit a good amount this year. I went out and played it a lot, so I kind of was familiar with it. But it's kind of interesting that the black section on the handle doesn't go all the way up. I mean, I know that's a little very nitpicky, but it was just interesting. Even with the tipping it 1/2 inch, it didn't quite move that black section up far enough to cover it. But it's a little interesting look. But overall, same thing, kind of that matte pearl white finish. Looks really solid, and again, the graphics that VA does are really, really good. So I've never seen a VA shaft that wasn't just a really, really cool look. So in terms of the hybrid for the Raijin 2.0, they only make it in one weight, 85 grams, and it goes 85 for a reg, 86 for stiff, and 86 for X. So this is the X one, the X as well. Also touted as kind of a high launch shaft from VA. And in hybrids, I don't mind a little loft. I'm a guy who's been playing a decent amount of, Fujikura Ventus HB Blue. So, taking this thing out and playing it, I was pretty excited to hit this as well. And it was quite a surprise when I opened the box and found that there was a hybrid shaft along with the driver's shaft. So it was kind of cool to have another shaft to take out. Much like its big brother driver, the first thing you notice swinging it, super, super smooth. I mean, easy to load. You feel a lot of a lot of that kick and impact. It just feels like it stores energy really well. I that day was hitting kind of lower balls. I hit everything. Everything I was hitting was off the turf. I was really mad. I was on my way to the range, realized I forgot my little adjustable rubber tee where you can put your own tee in it and adjust heights and all that. So I can hit 3-woods and hybrids and all that off the tee. Just kind of do both. So everything I was hitting was off the deck, and off the deck for me usually means a little bit lower. But I was still able to hit some really good, easy, high shots with this thing. I think I hit the first two. I think I kind of hit really low off the face, and they were kind of thin and out there, but they were actually fairly decent shots. They went pretty straight. This one here, though, I mean, after those two, I had definitely hit some higher balls. My average launch with that hybrid, which is a 20 degree, actually I think it's a 21, and I opened the face a touch, so it should be down to 20. It does have an adjustable hosel on it, but I launched it 12.4, which for me is probably about average. I hit a few though that were just really high, high flying, soft landing shots that. But I hit, like I said, those first two were a little thin and low, but still went out there pretty good. They still went out there pretty good ways. And on this one here, so spin, my average spin for, again, probably about 10 or 15 balls. I hit quite a few with this thing. It was 37.44. Again, we're hitting range balls, so I don't take that number and look at it like, oh my gosh. But I never had any shots like kind of ballooning up or rising up. Everything was kind of up in the air, out, and it just landed really soft. So the full swing doesn't give you descent angle, unfortunately, or at least not, in one of the graphs that I can look at for averages. And but everything kind of went up straight, landed soft, and was it was going out there a good ways. Ball speed on this was a 126.3 with a smash of 137. Like I said, I hit the first couple a little thin, a little squirrely, but overall, I mean, I think the next few shots, this thing really brought the smash back up. The club head speed with this was like 92.1, so nothing crazy fast. I never swing my irons or hybrids super fast. It's like a driver, I swing a little faster in comparison to everything else. But yeah, launch 12.4, 137, and like I said, it's spun 37.44. Hitting it really solid though. The biggest thing was, much like the driver, not a lot of curvature on the ball. Like when I hit this thing left, it went straight left, and it didn't have the big draw on it that I usually see with a lot of my hybrid shots. When I get over the top of that closed face, I hit it and it goes left and it draws left and everything's just left about it. When I hit that, a swing that felt like that, the ball started left to target and went that way and had very little draw shaping to it. It was just kind of straight left. And the same thing with missing right. The ball just stayed on line right, and it didn't have any type of like fade to it. It was just really a straight ball flight. When you hit it straight, it just went straight in the air, went along, went out there, and then just dropped out of the sky. And this one here, the feel on it, again, really, really good. I would say, pretty responsive. You may lose a little bit of a vibration when you do hit it really hard off the heel or the toe, or super thin. But again, when you hit it super thin and it's 45 degrees out, and you can reduce some of that vibration, it's really good. But same thing with this thing in terms of swinging it. When I put it in the head, I didn't swing weight it. It felt pretty normal. Felt pretty much like the shaft that it was in there was a Ventus, a non-Velo Core Ventus Blue. Ripped the tip off that, threw it on this thing, and built it up. But swing weight wise, it felt really good. I play it, what do they call it, down one to kind of slightly open the face to make it 20 degrees, and just hit it really solid. And it was just really consistent, really tight. Compared to that non-Velo Core Ventus hybrid shaft, definitely a huge improvement. Definitely much better feeling, much tighter dispersion, much more consistency compared to that shaft that was in there. And overall, just a really great shaft to hit in there. I thought it was a really good pairing. That head is not the highest launching in a sense. It is a little flatter. It's not hard to elevate it, but it doesn't quite fly as high as some of the other hybrids I've hit this year in terms of initial launch. So I think this shaft for me pairs well with it. It just helps get a little more oomph, a little more height into the shot. So the Raijin 2.0 hybrid shaft, really solid. And again, this is kind of touted as a mid-spin high launch shaft, and I think for the numbers there, I think it pretty much is. I mean, I know the 12.4 number isn't like crazy high, or 12.3. It's funny, I launched driver and hybrid within 0.1 of each other. 12.3 hybrid, so I might have said 12.4 and accident 12.3. They're right next to each other in my book. But 12.3 was the launch on that, which is pretty funny. But yeah, for me, I think that's, it does nothing but help. And I think, for me, hitting the first two kind of low, that number in terms of initial launch, if I was to take out two thin shots, probably adds up to even, a little higher launch. But it pairs up, like I said, well with that head. And overall, just a really consistent, really tight hybrid shaft. You're looking for something to, again, give you a little more launch without having to get into kind of these loose feelings, really soft, high launching shafts. This thing still feels pretty stout, and it still gets the ball up in the air. Still feels like you can kind of go at it without the shaft going all over the place or missing a shot in a weird way. So the Raijin 2.0 hybrid shaft, 85 grams, and it's definitely a solid option, and definitely something if you're looking to hit it a little higher. Definitely worth looking at to go something that gives you a little height and still keeps the consistency and the accuracy. So both these really, really good. I was really impressed with both of them. Thank you to Victor for sending them over. I know they will still be in the rotation come next year for sure. I will definitely be hitting some balls with those. And then so the VA, if you want to learn more about the Raijin 2.0s, go to vashafts.com. It has kind of all their stuff. They have all their specs there, and a little more on the 2.0. It's basically a firm butt section with a stiff middle, stiff tip section for the drivers. So something that, again, with a firm handle section, probably why I hit it pretty well. Like I said, the Slay is probably the one that I've hit the worst, but the Raijin 2.0s are really, really solid. And if you want, if you hit the original, like I said, a little bit more stout. In terms of launch compared to it, I would say it may launch a hair flatter than the original for me, but I unfortunately don't have that one to take out and put it right against this one because that was with my old all-fit system, and with all-fit I had to tip the shaft like 3/4 of an inch and cut it way short. So even if I was to put an all-fit tip on it, it wouldn't be apples to apples. It would be tipped 3/4 of an inch. It would be like a half an inch short, all that. So not able to hit those two side by side. But like I said, big fan of the new Raijin 2.0. It's really solid. So, like I said, vashafts.com. Take a look at those if you want to learn more about it, and if you have a dealer or a fitter or whatever around that you can go try them out. Definitely go try them out because they are really, really solid. So, the next thing I'll get into is got a chance to go hit some of the new Mizuno irons. So the new Hot Metal, the JPX923s, the Hot Metal and Hot Metal Pro are the two that I was out hitting. And with these, I do have the Hot Metal High Launch Pro or the Hot Metal High Launch as well. I wasn't able to get those out quite yet. But these two I know are the ones that, you guys have kind of probably waiting for. I know most people are waiting for the JPX 923 Forged and Tour, but those aren't coming out till next year. So right now, if you're looking for brand new Mizuno JPX, it's going to be the Hot Metal Pro, and Hot Metal High Launch. So those are the three out that are now, and then I think it's January or February, we'll get the Tour and the Forge. So with these, the Hot Metal kind of took these out. Thankfully, Mizuno was nice enough to they weren't able to get like full sets to anybody, but they were able to build up like 4.7 pitching wedges with the same Modus Tour 120 shaft on all of them in stiff, same lengths, lofts, everything. So they kind of built them up so they're all kind of apples to apples, so I could take them out and hit them. And really between the two, I mean the Hot Metal Pro, the Hot Metal is definitely a slight bit bigger, a little bit more offset to it, a little thicker top line, and it feels like it's a little longer heel to toe. Both these irons, though, are a little longer and a little longer heel to toe than I think I was expecting. Now the Hot Metal, I kind of expected it to be a little bigger, a little more forgiving. The Hot Metal Pro, I thought it was going to be a little more compact in terms of looks. It's definitely a little bit larger and has just a little bit more offset than I kind of expected from the JPX with the name Pro in it. And I know the Forged and the JPX 923 Tour are both going to be the next kind of step down. So if you go kind of up the chain, you'd start at the Tour, which is going to be kind of the one-piece Forged, the one you're going to see on Tour, or already seen it in a few bags on Tour. And then you'll go to the JPX 923 Forged, then the Hot Metal Pro, then the Hot Metal, then the Hot Metal High Launch. So they're kind of, that's the transition of the 5 irons in this line. But the Hot Metal Pro, like I said, I thought it was going to be just a little bit more compact, a little bit thinner top line, a little bit less offset. The offset's not bad. I'll admit that it's not bad at all. It's just got a little bit. But it is a little bigger club head than I expected. I thought the Pro would still be a little bit smaller, a little bit more compact. It's got a decently wide sole on it, which ends up being good for soft conditions or steep players or players who kind of catch it maybe just a little bit behind. But like I said, just a little bit bigger club head than I thought. This year they're using basically a new face, which is a kind of a one piece. Instead of being a tiny little face insert like a lot of multi-piece irons are, this thing is a full full face insert, and it's like 8% thinner. It's got the new V chassis on the back, so the V chassis is supposed to offer a lot more support to the face. They can make it thinner, a little faster. Both the Hot Metal Pro, same lofts for the most part. I mean, the 7 irons, when I was looking at them, those are the two that I hit kind of side by side on the launch monitor, but both 28.5 degrees of launch. And then, the rest of it's all kind of the same there in terms of, 28.5. The pitching wedges are like 43, still a little strong. But, I mean, these are built for players who are looking for more distance. I mean, they're looking for players who want to hit it higher, hit it straighter, and more forgiveness. The precision type player, that tour type player, who's going to want to work it really a lot and all that. That's going to be JPX4s, JPX923, or Tour when those come out next year. So these, like I said, basically made for a little more forgiveness. Like I said, I'll say the Hot Metal Pro is a little bit bigger than I thought, but the shaping and all that looks pretty good. The Hot Metal and the Hot Metal High Launch definitely have kind of the little more offset to them, and like I said, a little longer heel to toe look, a little heftier top lines. I just don't think they're quite beveled as much as the Hot Metal Pro, but kind of hitting these side by side. The Hot Metal Pro ended up flying just like a little bit flatter. It basically launched, in terms of launch angle, was about 0.8 degrees lower than the Hot Metal, or the Hot Metal Pro was about 0.8 degrees. So again, over, I don't even know how many shots. I think it was like 10, 15, something like that. I pretty much went to the range with a smaller bag than I usually go. The Hot Metal I launched at 16.1, where the Hot Metal Pro was at 15.3. So, almost a degree different for me. The Hot Metal Pro launched a little lower. Smash factor was actually kind of the same, 137 for both. The club head speed, I swung the Hot Metal Pro a little bit faster at 86.1, where the Hot Metal was 85.5 or 85.5. So actually swung the Hot Metal Pro a little faster. And then the ball speed was almost identical, so I was definitely hitting a little closer to the center on the Hot Metal. So 117.5 to the Hot Metal, 118 in the Hot Metal Pro in terms of ball speed. The spin, the Hot Metal Pro was about 100 RPM spin more, 57.90 versus 56.11. And then, the Hot Metal ended up being about 3 yards farther. I think just hitting it up a little bit higher, a little more, or a little less spin, just goes a little farther. So it ended up being a 157 average to a 154 average for the Hot Metal Pro. But so again, when they say the Pro ones typically launch a little lower, sometimes they spin a little more, whatever. I mean, that's exactly basically what I saw. And like I said, both these have Tour 120, Modus Tour 120s in there, so nothing, pretty much the same grip, all that. But like I said, performed really well. I do have to say, for being a bigger club head, than I expected, they are really forgiving. They're easy to hit. You can hit it off the toe. You can hit it a little off the heel. You can kind of hit it anywhere on the face, and you're going to get a pretty darn good result. Like I said, if you look at kind of my ball marks, I think on both these, you'll see that I was kind of leaning out towards the toe a little bit on both clubs, in pretty much the identical spot in both of them, which was pretty interesting. But yeah, the Hot Metal Pro and Hot Metal, like I said, when you set them down, not a huge difference. You do notice when you get into kind of like the 4-iron, you do see a little bit of the kind of that back cavity a touch, which I know some people don't necessarily like. With the 4-irons, though, I mean, I get it. You're trying to add some mass low. You're trying to help get that ball up in the air. So it definitely makes it, I understand the reason it's there. I also understand that the people who don't want to see it are probably going to wait for, either JPX4s or JPX2 or one of those two. Both on the range, though, easy to get up in the air. Like I said, hit it all over the face. It goes a decent ways. They are pretty hot irons. I mean, the ball jumps off there pretty quick and goes. 137 for a 7 iron in terms of smash factor is I think pretty darn good. I haven't been keeping track of like every iron I hit in terms of smash factor and all that. So to say that it's better or worse than something else, I don't really 100% know. But like I said, the Pro went out and did launch a little bit lower. I like the looks of the Pro a little bit better. I mean, I think most of us on this podcast probably would, just because. Like I said, a little less offset, a little more, a little thinner top line, a little more compact. But in terms of distance, they go pretty well. I know my under 160 with a 7 iron number is not crazy impressive. But I did hit a couple out there that were like the 165s and stuff like that. So it definitely still goes. Out on the course, I mean, I'm lasering stuff, whatever. I mean, I didn't hit any, I don't think, 165 unless I pulled them left. But in terms of distance, I didn't really change anything. If I had a 160, I was pulling 7 iron, and that's just the club I was pulling no matter what. Turf interaction was pretty good. I mean, on the soles of these things, they definitely are a little bit wider than I expected, but they're very kind of rounded. The front leading edge, which you'll probably never pick up on a photo or anything like that, does have a little bit of a bevel to it, so it doesn't want to dig. It doesn't want to get hard into the turf. It definitely, when it gets to the turf, wants to kind of hit and slide through and get out and kind of give as much energy that the strike as possible. Excuse me. But temper interaction on both is really good. Like I said, a little wider sole, a decent amount of bounce on both of them. I don't know what the exact number is. It's not on the site that I see, but a decent amount of bounce on both irons. Between the two, sound and feel, pretty good. I would say. I think I was expecting. Again, I wasn't true flushing, just shot after shot after shot, but had a little more. Whoa! As I'm trying to bring clubs on and off the desk, I just smoked a wedge that was sitting there. So did have just a little more click to it than I anticipated. There was a little firmer feel. I think with Mizuno, we kind of kind of forget that they do make irons that are supposed to be more forgiving, longer, easier to hit, and those all don't necessarily have the same feel as a forged Mizuno Pro 221. We're not going to get that crazy solid feel, whatever, but it did have a little bit of click to it. The face is definitely a little bit firmer than some of the MP stuff when you hit that, but the MP stuff isn't near as forgiving and long as these are. So it is a little bit of a trade-off. Like I said, I think with the Mizuno name, you automatically think that you're going to get that forged blade feel in every club, and it just it does have a little more audible click. It is a little bit firmer compared to that, and I mean they use different metals, they're using different technologies in these, and I think for a lot of players that they will easily forego the blade feel for the distance, forgiveness, and ball flight that the hot metals offer, because they definitely do go really well. Like I said, I'll give one little knock there. When you do hit it, off the toe, it definitely you'll feel that it's off the toe. You will notice an audible and vibration difference between dead center strikes and toe. I was able to tell that fairly easily because I hit a few of both. But overall, just a really solid performing iron. Like I said, I mean, if you're looking for something, easiest to get in the air, I mean, the hot metal high launch, definitely easier to launch, get in the air a little faster, a little higher. Where the Hot Metal Pro, for me at least, launches just a little bit flatter and has just maybe a touch more spin on it. But missed shots stay on line pretty well. In terms of forgiveness, I think this is probably the most, the Hot Metal is probably the most forgiving iron from Mizuno I've ever hit. In terms of misses go a long ways. Again, I had just 4.7 pitch, so I didn't have like a full set when I went and played with them, so they were kind of in the bag. And but the shots I hit that you didn't hit well, still were able to get onto say like the front of the green or right around the green. Compared to some of the blades and stuff that I've hit lately that have not been able to get to the green. Excuse me. But but these things here, if you do miss it, you hit it on the toe, you hit it on the heel, you hit it a little thin. Those balls still get up in the air fairly easily. They still carry a good ways. You're still able to get it either onto the front of the green or just in front of the green, and have either just a long putt or a chip to the hole or whatever the case might be up there. But they do allow you to play a lot better golf. They definitely are easier. I think this is allowing Mizuno to get more towards the average golfer. Who's not, a Golf WRX tinker necessarily or a little higher handicap. And I think it's going to offer a lot of those players a really solid iron that they kind of didn't know Mizuno made. I think when you say the word Mizuno, I think everybody kind of thinks Pro 221, 223, and now, having some options out there for players who want a little, want the forgiveness, they want the distance, they want all those things, and they don't necessarily need to have the super tiny compact blade with, just nothing on the back and all that, and you're going to appeal to a lot more golfers with these sets. But like I said, really easy to launch. The 4-irons are pretty easy to launch. I didn't necessarily hit those on the monitor side by side because I just didn't have that many balls, that many swings in me, and that much time. So I didn't. I had those there. I just didn't hit them side by side. But the 4-irons are pretty easy to launch. They're easy to get up in the air. The pitching wedge, same thing. Actually goes pretty high for being as strong lofted as it is. It being like 43 degrees. It still actually gets the ball pretty much straight in the air. It doesn't hit like a low burner or anything like that. And for me, I didn't hit it crazy long. Like for me, a pitching wedge, much I want to claim is it's a 130 club. It really is more like 125 to maybe 120. Like my drop off when I get to wedges is kind of crazy. And I'm able to get pretty much that 125 to 130 shot out of that pitching wedge, which is kind of nice. And I know people will say, well, yeah, because it's crazy strong. But it still went high. It still landed soft. Like it still was, a very playable shot instead of just being something that's super low, hits the green, and releases a ton. Everything was kind of hit it up there. It would hit, release maybe a foot or two, and that was it. Or with like the pitching wedge, it was basically no release. It just stops. So the shots out there that you hit with these things is just they're just really playable and they're just really easy to hit. And like I said, if you go into the Hot Metal series expecting it to feel exactly like a Pro 221, then yes, you may be a little disappointed. But I think if you're going into it knowing that, hey, I want distance, I want forgiveness, I want something easy to launch, and I've got 3 different options for that. You're going to be able to walk out of there with a club that plays really well. So, Hot Metal Pro, both were really solid, really easy to hit. Like I said, that Hot Metal is probably the most forgiving Mizuno iron that I've ever hit, and I haven't celebrated their whole collection in terms of hitting everything, but they're pretty darn easy to hit. So. Yeah, if you want to check out more of those, go to MizunoGolf.com. They got all the Hot Metal stuff on there. You can kind of see all the construction, all that. But like I said, for me, Hot Metal Pro, just a little flatter launch, a little more spin in that Hot Metal Pro compared to the standard model. So pretty interesting. Like I said, I didn't get full time with him, just only having a couple clubs, but it was still great to get out and hit them and try them and be able to talk about them a little bit. So like I said, MizunoGolf.com, check out the irons. They've got all the info on there. I think that's going to be kind of it for me today. I always feel like it's a short episode, then I look at the time and I'm like, oh, I went a solid amount. So I think that'll be it for today. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of the week. Hopefully you have a good weekend. It's supposed to get cold up here, so if you're going to play golf, make sure to bring the old mittens or gloves or something to keep the hands warm. If you live somewhere down south or whatever where you're playing all year, I despise you right now, but it's okay. I get it. So, but again, follow me on Instagram at the Club Junkie Pod. Hit me up with any questions, anything like that you have on there. And then, hopefully you'll have a good week, and we'll talk to you guys next week.